Good morning and happy Sunday. So this week I want to talk because this is something that I personally have been dealing with. Is that staying consistent and getting out of a rut. So I know that especially in the summertime, I feel like this happens a lot because you have schedules that change, you have, things going on, barbecues, baseball, work, getting ready for school to start, like all the things, right? We're so busy in the summer. You're actually able to be outside if you're in a warmer or if you're in a place that's usually colder in the winter. So you're just more active and busy and you have things going on. So it can be really hard for you to find time to stay consistent. And then what happens, at least I feel like this is the case for me. And the reason I'm saying this, because I always feel like it's important to be open and transparent, but um at least I find it for me, once you start getting into a habit of being inconsistent, then you're like, okay, how do I get back started up? You kind of fall into this place where you start doubting yourself. You start thinking that, well, what are people thinking? Are they going to think, oh, now she's starting back up again? Like all these crazy thoughts run through your mind, right? And you start to kind of like psych yourself out. So then you just stay in that place of non-movement because you're like, I don't know where to go. I feel like an imposter. Imposter syndrome starts setting in. Then you don't even want to get started to do anything. But you also have this like drive in the back of your mind that you want to get started. You just don't know where to go. So the first thing I want to say is you just got to do it. And I've been telling myself this for the week. And every time it comes up, like last week, I wrote out everything I was going to plan. But then I never got any photos. And because I didn't have any photos, then I was allowing that to stop me. And then it was like kids getting sick and work and all the things. And then I just felt like I was super inconsistent for the week. And I wanted to tell you that that is normal to feel that way, but do not stay in that place. So the first thing I want to say is I've been reading this book called I think it's One More, just One More, and it's by Ed Mylett. Super good book. But I reached this chapter where he's talking about like you have goals, right? But the goals are all good and dandy until you have to do the action. So then how he proposes it is instead of saying something like action, he says, what kind of standard are you willing to accept? So if you want these goals, what kind of standard do you need to have in your life in order to achieve those things? And making it very specific, very clear, and not overwhelming, but enough to actually get movement in the right direction. So the first thing I want to say, I've been saying that a lot. So when you're in a rut and you're trying to get out, what you need to do is first zoom out. You need to look at your schedule because that is usually the thing that's going to be holding you back in the first place, is that you have a chaotic schedule. You don't know how to fit things in. You find yourself wasting time because you just are procrastinating because you feel uncomfortable or whatever that might be. The first thing you need to do is zoom out of your schedule and look at your schedule. What do my days during the week look like? What's my work schedule? What kind of events do we have? What things do we have going on? And blocking those things out with the understanding that trying to force yourself to do something during times where you're literally unavailable is going to just make things worse. So looking at your entire schedule, blocking out the times where I absolutely am not available to work my business, to create content, etc., etc. So block those things out first. Then after you have the times where for sure there is no ability for you to get on your phone, maybe it's you have work hours and they're restrictive on phone use, or that you're going to be in an event and you're going to be busy and you're not going to be looking at your phone the entire time. So block those out first, and then look at, where do I have an hour? Where do I have 1 hour and then where do you have 15 minutes at time? So where do I have an hour during the week? Maybe it's 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. Write those times down on a piece of paper. These are the times that I have free. So like maybe you do get a lunch period and you have 30 minutes to an hour for your lunch period. Say lunch period, 30 minutes. Or after my child goes to bed from like 8 to 9. or in the morning from like 5 to 6 before I get ready for my job or for whatever you're doing. Where do you have an hour? And write every single time that you have an hour that is not going to be interfered with. Then where do you maybe have like 15 minutes here or there? So do you have like a drive home that's 15 minutes? I'm going to explain how this will play in later. Do you have 15 minutes like where you're driving home? Do you have, again, a lunch break? Do you have 15 minutes while you give your kids bath time and you're just sitting there? Do you have 15 minutes after dinner or something like that? Where do you have 15 minutes? And then where are downtimes in your schedule? Where do you usually find yourself trying to fill that time with stuff that is not productive? So like maybe it's scrolling on Facebook or TikTok or Instagram. Where are the times that you're typically on the most? You can even go onto your phone and look at your, I think it's called like your screen time, and see where is a time that you're typically on your screen. We all have them. Don't lie to yourself and say that, no, I don't. There is time in your day where you are not being productive and you are just wasting time. Now, don't get me wrong. I think it is also important to have time where you just don't have any expectations for your schedule and you can relax and just do whatever. And if you need to schedule it in, like you have one whole day where you just are off social media altogether, that is much better than you just constantly procrastinating every single day and then beating yourself up about it. So zoom out on your schedule. Where do you have an hour? Where do you have 15 minutes? And where do you typically have downtime? Write those things down. Okay. So during your 15-minute times, so if it's a 15-minute drive to work, are you actually filling your mind with self-development? Because if I notice that if I am struggling with staying consistent, or if I feel like I'm in a rut, 9 times out of 10, it's because I'm not self-developing myself. I'm not reading a book. I'm not listening to a productive podcast. I'm not watching productive YouTubes. I'm not journaling. So during that 15 minutes of you driving home from work, you can plug in a podcast, you can plug in a YouTube video and just listen to it. Something that's going to fill your mind, that is going to grow you as a person. Because I feel like that is the number one issue that people are probably having with their business, is that they're not developing themselves. They're not looking at areas of their life where they are falling short and how to improve upon them, and actively seeking out self-development that is really going to take you from one stage to the next. I'm not talking about those like short little clips on YouTube where it's like motivational, like you got to do this, you can do this. And there's like a bunch of clips from different people speaking. I am talking about understanding that what is an area that I'm lacking in my life, searching for that sort of self-development and then utilizing it. So 15 minutes a day, if you're driving or you're, maybe like you're preparing dinner or you're doing something that you're unable to like be focused on your phone, but you can multitask, use it to develop your mind. Another, if you're having 15 minutes of just plain downtime, like let's say you're eating lunch at work and you have that 15 minutes, you could scroll on TikTok and Reels, or you could spend that 15 minutes to just interact with people, going on to your followers on Instagram, interacting with them, interacting with stories, interacting with people on Facebook, interacting in groups on Facebook, those sort of things where you have time where you're actually physically able to get on your phone. It's funny because Courtney Glazer, I don't know if you probably know her, but something she said that when she first began is every time she would go to the bathroom, she'd interact with a couple people. So you have time in the day, you're just choosing not to, because maybe there's some limiting belief behind you that is like, I don't know what to say, I'm not good enough, I'm in a rut, whatever those limiting beliefs you keep telling yourself maybe. So 15 minutes a day to either develop your mind by listening, multitasking, or just interacting with people. Then pick one day a week where you have 30 minutes to an hour. So it can be right after the Zoom. It can be, I would actually highly recommend you do it right after the Zoom if you have the ability. It can be like right before you go to bed. It can be after your kids are in bed, like 50 or 30 minutes to an hour to just brainstorm ideas, write things down. And if you're trying to focus on a niche on Instagram, write down where the typical problems that people have and then stem from there. And if you're trying to think of ways to talk about the products, write about the problems that people are having and brainstorm from there. But just having that moment to kind of just get ideas on a piece of paper helps so much. And I shared this in a couple weeks ago, is writing down your Thrive story again. Talking about why you decided to join the business, why you decided to start taking the products, where you were at the time before you actually started. And that often kind of jogs some ideas for me as well. It helps me understand where I was before, because when you get so used to feeling good every day, I get it. You're feeling good every day. So it's really hard for you to reconnect back to that stage that a lot of other people are in, where you're tired, exhausted, maybe lacking income or something along those lines. So one day a week, 30 minutes to an hour where you can brainstorm, write it in a schedule. If you're like me and you have ADHD and you have a hard time prioritizing tasks, then make sure that you're carrying some sort of planner or schedule with you that you're utilizing on a daily basis. This is a business. If you want it to get paid like a business, you need to treat it like a business. If you want to get paid like a hobby, treat it like a hobby, is what people always say. So then pick one of those other open time slots that seems to be like 30 minutes to an hour and record 3 to 5 reels. Do not overthink this. Do not overthink this. Do not overthink this. Don't think it needs to look perfect. Don't worry about how you look. Just hit the record, because you're going to be able to tweak your craft the more times that you do it. At first, you're probably going to feel awkward, and it's probably going to be you're probably going to feel awkward. You're going to feel like I'm not getting any reach. Maybe people aren't viewing your video, but that's okay, because repetition is what you need in order for you to get better at things. You're not going to feel like an expert right away. You're never going to feel like an expert right away. No matter how many tutorials you watch, no matter how many other people's reels you watch, no matter how many things you have in your draft that you've recorded over and over again, but I haven't actually posted, you need to actually click the post and just get it over with if you're afraid of it. So recording 3 to 5 reels. So what that looks like is just saving a couple sounds, changing a shirt. That's all you need to do, is just change your shirt a few times and record a few reels back to back. You don't have to know what the context is. You don't have to know what words you're going to be using in the captions. You don't have to know what words you're going to be using in the actual content itself. I was wondering why my words are so hard today, and it's because I haven't put my patch on, I think. So the focus is not there. Anyways, so just recording things back to back, that's another time block for you. Write it in your schedule. Okay, so another time block where you might have 30 minutes to an hour, just take time to look at the brainstorm ideas that you wrote down and just write down a bunch of captions for your posts. Especially, I literally just did this right before, 10 minutes before the Zoom. I wrote down all the things that I'm going to post on Facebook Monday through Saturday. And they might not be fully written out, but they're just little ideas. So like Monday for Facebook, I have that we're going to talk about capsules and keeping it short and sweet. And I know what I'm going to be doing on a Monday morning. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to prioritize time for me. And I'm going to get up early. I get up at 4 o'clock usually every single day. So then I'm going to put up since 4, moved my body, made time for me. Capsules never, or coffee never allowed me to do that. And then capsules, greater sign, coffee. And then Tuesday, I just wrote, like, my fear was that I wouldn't make any money. Wednesday, I picked the vitamin I'm going to talk about. Thursday, I'm talking about all the things coming up with school going on. Friday, and I just wrote a little blurb for each day, and then I can expand on it right before I decide to post it. Friday, I'm talking about how sometimes your paycheck's not enough. And then Saturday, just talking about chaotic schedules again. So you can literally write down Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and just write little ideas super fast. It took me 10 minutes. You can absolutely do it super fast. So there's that. Yeah, and that's what I have. So the first thing is zoom out on your schedule for the week. Find gaps where there's an hour, 15 minutes. Make sure that you are blocking out the time that you're unavailable, like you know that you will be unavailable. You do not have the time. Do not even try to force yourself to make the time. And then block 15 minutes to interact or have some sort of self-development. Pick a day where you're doing brainstorming. So it can be right after the Zoom, which would be a great idea because you have those ideas fresh from your mind where we're talking about Monday through Saturday. Pick another day where you can record 3 to 5 reels and maybe take some photos. And then take a time block to write out your content. Here's something that I actually just did on my phone. So I know that I have a tendency to procrastinate when I feel like I'm overwhelmed. And where's the first place I do that? TikTok or Instagram. I will watch reels. I will watch TikToks because I just feel like I don't know how to get out of this rut. I just need to waste my time. I know it sounds crazy, but I know I can't be the only one. So what I did this morning was I set time limits on my phone for TikTok and Instagram so that when I am on there, I am being purposeful. If I set 30 minutes for TikTok a day, that's all I can go on. So if I'm going to be on TikTok, I'm going to create content in that 30 minutes and maybe watch a video or two. If Instagram, I'm planning on doing, I think like an hour a day, just because I know it's going to take me that maybe 2 hours, because I know sometimes it's going to take me about an hour to record some reels. And then I also want to leave time to post stories and things like that as well. But if you feel like you really have an issue with self-control and consuming social media as opposed to using it as a tool, then don't be afraid to limit yourself so that you can open up that space for you to be more productive in your business. Yeah, that's the last thing. So let's get into planning your week because we have like 20 minutes left. So Monday, if you're new to this, Monday or every day we go Facebook idea, Instagram idea, stories idea. So every single day. You can flip and flop too. So like, let's say for Instagram on Monday, I have a quote. You can use that as a second post on Facebook. You can flip flop Facebook to Instagram if you really choose. I just feel like the platforms are a little bit different to be utilizing, where Facebook, you can be a little bit more overt about your selling and stuff like that. Instagram is more about people are coming there to be educated, entertained on a specific topic. So that's why it's a little more niche related. So Monday, Facebook, I have short and sweet, 1 to 3 sentences about why you use capsules. The end. It doesn't have to be super fancy. I already told you what I did. I can say it again. I said, I'm just going to do like bullet points, like up since 4, moved my body, made time for me. Coffee never allowed me to do that. And then I'm going to do capsules, greater sign, coffee. And then just post a picture of me with my capsules, or just probably of me with my capsules, because I feel like anytime I just post the product, I don't get a whole lot of reach on it. But if my face is included, then it usually gets more reach. So that's what I'm going to be doing personally. Instagram, I have a quote, because you want to make sure that you're implementing shareable content as well on your Instagram so that people can share it to their stories. It just helps improve your reach. So it's not going to necessarily make you grow super fast like reels or something like that, but it's going to serve your audience in a different way. And it could potentially open up you to other people's audience as well. Stories, open your mouth and talk about the capsules, because I find, and I've found recently, that if I'm just posting pictures, I don't get a whole lot of response back from it. But when I talk about the things, they can hear a voice, they can see my excitement about it, they can feel your emotion towards things. And that's sometimes a lot. That's what people need sometimes. They just need to know that you're a real human and you're not just posting a picture to post a picture. So actually talk about what the capsules are doing for you in the morning. Tuesday, sorry, it's payday obviously, but for Facebook, address one fear that people may have about starting their own business online. Mine is that I wouldn't make any money. That was my fear. That was the reason I was hesitant. I was like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I'm going to make any money. The reason it's important for you to address fears is you can't pretend like it's rainbows and sunshine all the time. And that you were just like so excited to join this business, like right from the get-go, and you weren't hesitant at all. Because here's the thing, people on your page are hesitant and skeptical. So if you're being open and honest and talking about fears, then they'll be like, oh, she understands that people are fearful of doing this thing. So talk about a fear that people might have about the business or that you personally had as well. Instagram, I have a reel and I have it as one thing you believed before that ended up being wrong. And this can be niche related. So like one thing you believed about your niche. So I'm going to give one example. So like, let's say you're a homeschool mom, or I'll give two examples, or you're in a weight loss journey or whatever. So one thing you might have believed to be true is that like, you wouldn't be a good teacher and that's why you can't homeschool. Or for like weight loss, that one thing you believed to be wrong was, or true, that was wrong, is that you can't eat any carbs and that there's bad foods or whatever. So that might be that. Stories for Tuesday, I have VIP 400 slides because we have this week to nail this on the head. I am wondering, don't quote me on this, I don't know if it's factual. I'm wondering if this is something they're thinking about implementing it, and that's why they're bringing it about to kind of like test it out, which would be wonderful, but it's super achievable. It's the easiest way that you can help somebody get money in their pocket or their money back on their investment from the business right off the bat. So it's super achievable and easy to do with somebody that's brand new. So talking about that in your stories. So you can either do like a bunch of slides. Wouldn't it though? Like for real, that would be the quickest way to get somebody just invested in the business and like having a fire under them when they earn money right off the bat. $200 and what is it, 100 in credits? That'd be amazing. I hope they do that. Please. So that for Tuesday stories, VIP 400 slides. So you can either use some of the graphics that the company had sent out, or you can just talk about it. So Wednesday for Facebook, I want you to pick one vitamin that is in our products and why it's beneficial for people. Because if you're talking about vitamins and you're not breaking down like why it's important to get all these things, then you might like miss a disconnect. So you can pick one, like why B12 is so important, because our body like really struggles to produce it and it makes you happy and it's good for endorphins. Like just Google a vitamin and then talk about it. You can either do a live video on it, or you can post the back of the capsules like this and then just talk about one of the vitamins on there. So that's what I have for Facebook on Wednesday. Instagram, I have a reel and then do some sort of trendy reel. Again, if you have the freaking capability on Facebook for reels, you can take this reel, save the video before it has a little watermark on it, and then recreate it on Facebook too. And that'll be a second post for you on Facebook. But I don't have the capability. I found a really weird roundabout way, but it's not conducive. And I actually just sent in a support ticket to Facebook today, like WTF, can I please have reels on Facebook? Stories. I have talked about what your paycheck did for you this week. You can, I think it's good that, I mean, every single Tuesday we talk about how we get paid, but we can also talk about it on Wednesday saying, I got paid yesterday and this is what it helped me with. It helped me with groceries. It helped me with gas. It helped me pay for my kids' sports. It helped me pay because like I have to drop $160 for football and that's what it's going to help me with or whatever. Yada, yada. So what about what your paycheck is doing for you? Talk if you can, please. Thursday, Facebook, wearable nutrition, and what is your patch helping you accomplish today? And then in stories, you're also going to talk about what patch and why, what patch you're using and why. Because we have so many different ones that I think it's yes, you can talk about the one that you use, but then you can find a slide where it breaks down all the other ones that we have and just show all the different options that people have for patches. So wearable nutrition. Instagram, I have carousel for that day. So for Facebook, wearable nutrition, what is your patch helping you accomplish? Instagram carousel, stories, what patch are you wearing today and why? Is it that you're wearing a black label because your kids are driving you insane this summer and you're sick of them asking you for snacks and you might just snap and this helps you not do that? Is it that you're going to all the barbecues and you feel like you could eat all the things, so you have appetite control on today so that you don't go out of control, like whatever that might be. Facebook, I have internet income, and I just have that tagline because the reality is there are people out there right now that are struggling with the rising cost of everything and do not have the capability to physically go to a job because maybe they're working long hours at their current job. Maybe they have kids and they don't know how childcare is going to work. Maybe it is that they're disabled and they just can't leave the house. Or maybe, I mean, I would refrain from talking about that because usually there's income limits related to that. So I don't know, but internet income and why that is the way to do things right now. So for me personally, this is what I put in my little blurb that I wrote. Sometimes your paycheck isn't enough, but you also don't have the possibility to go add another job to your life. So that was my reality. That's actually the reason why I started the business, is because my husband and I were looking at our income and we're like, I don't know how we're going to do this. And I was actually thinking of, I was working 60 hours a week at the time, 40 to 60 hours a week at the time. And I was actually entertaining the idea of getting a part-time job on the weekends. And the thought actually crushed my soul. So that's why when Steph had posted something and then I had reached out to her and I were talking, and I was like, maybe this could be a thing for me. Maybe, because I can't physically go to another job. There's no way. I would never see my children. I would never see them grow up. I would miss everything. And I would be freaking exhausted doing all that. So address internet income and why that's so important. Instagram reel, I just have get creative. You can use a certain trend. You can do a transition video, get creative with the videos that you're doing on reels. And stories, I have samples. So talking about samples, how you're sending out samples, what's included in a sample, yada, yada, yada. So make sure that you're constantly bringing up that fact that you have it available for people to try before they commit, because samples are one of the best ways to get people into your business. So if you're struggling with a PPA right now, get back into talking about samples consistently. Saturday, I have Facebook and the flexibility of the business. So I often highlight this on Saturdays because people usually have pretty busy schedules on Saturdays and you're doing a bunch of other things. So highlighting the fact that you're able to work from your phone and do this, I think is really a good way to paint the picture for people. Instagram, I have a photo post. So this can be like reintroducing yourself. This can be a before and after picture. This can be just like a photo of your family. This can be a photo of your workspace. This can be like an aesthetic photo if you want, like whatever it might be. I think it's just a way for people, to get to know you a little bit more. Stories, I have 3 steps, all 3 steps, talking about all 3 steps. Oh, great. I have hiccups. Lovely. Good thing I'm almost done, right? Why filling nutritional gaps is so important. I will give you a blurb about why micronutrition is so important. And that's what this is. This is micronutrition. Macronutrition is like carbs, fat, and protein. Micronutrition is all this other stuff. And the reason that it's so important is because everything is uber duper added with additives, super over processed, and a lot of the foods that people are consuming are lacking the fundamental vitamins that we need for our body to function properly and to feel good. And when you fill those gaps, you get more energy, you get better sleep, you get relief from aches and discomforts because you don't have as much inflammation. If you could see my face before I started Thrive, it was bloated. It for so long, it was bloated. I felt uncomfortable. I had bad digestive issues. When I started Thrive, my face started to slim down. That was one of the first things that I noticed before like the scale even changed, that my face looked less puffy all the time. And that's because I didn't have any vitamins in my body. So breaking down why filling nutritional gaps is so important. Because you can talk about vitamins and people are probably like, oh yeah, I take vitamins, don't worry about it. Or they're just like, yeah, whatever. Why would I need vitamins? Talking about nutritional gaps, which is one of the fundamental talking points of our business, and something that I often glaze over and forget to talk about that is so, so important. So stories, talk about all 3 steps and why filling your nutritional gaps is important. The end. And my hiccup stopped, so that was good. Usually they go on for longer than that. But again, we will be on Sundays forever and ever. Amen. So we don't have to worry about swapping schedules, which is awesome. Yeah, but I hope that was beneficial. If you feel like you're in a rut like me, again, I'm always going to be transparent because I think pretending like you're always super jazzed to work your business is serving nobody, because every single person that is in this business has gone through a period of time where they've doubted themselves, where they feel like they fell into a rut, where maybe their business isn't going like it has in the past and they're starting to doubt themselves. I can guarantee you that every single person in this business has gone through that period of time at some point. And I want you to know that you're not alone and that you can get outside of it. Oh, good. I'm so glad to hear that you can get outside of that. It just takes uncomfortable, messy action and raising your standards. So again, if you have goals, writing down your why. And I honestly, I hate when people say write down your why because I hear it so much, but truly, what kind of standard do you want for your life? If you're having pain points right now in revisiting why you started this business in the first place, really helps you to kind of ground yourself back to that. If you're having pain points in your life, like maybe it's financial, maybe it's health, maybe it's you're just struggling with self-esteem, like whatever it might be, what kind of standard of living do you want for your life? And so if you don't want to write down your why, because I feel like sometimes you're like, to give my kids a better life, but sometimes that is not going to get you out of bed every single day. Like, yeah, I want my kids to have a great life too, but sometimes you have to just say like the really, really minute things. Like for me, it's like when my car breaks down, not having to drive a busted car, or when I'll be completely transparent. My husband lost his job, and that is part of the reason why I feel like I got into a rut, because I was like, how can I possibly talk about my business when we are struggling financially? Personally, we were doing really good when he had a job and I had my business and I was working a job too. We were getting ahead on everything, and then all of a sudden in an instant it was all gone, and we were struggling hard because that was a large portion of our income. So I was like, how can I talk about the business when I am struggling to make ends meet right now? And you can't allow those circumstances to hold you back, because then you're going to end up being in a place that's even worse than where you started. And it's going to be hard for you to regain that momentum. So for me, it was looking at that and saying, you know, like now that we're fine, we're getting back on track. We're still working, ironing out some things, but now it's like, I need to make sure, because I have seen success in this business. I have earned income in this business. And if I did it before, I can do it again. And I don't need to allow what happened just even a few weeks ago or in the past, or other things that I've tried in the past that haven't worked out for me, to hold me back from things that I could be in the future. The past is over with, you guys. There's nothing you can do about it. Someone once said that depression is worrying too much or thinking too much about the past, and anxiety is worrying too much about the future. And where the place is in the present. So if you can take some sort of action today, Like maybe it's you just get on and you interact with a couple people, or you find a group and start interacting in a group on Facebook, or maybe for the first time you start talking in your stories about your products or the business or something like that. Take something, a step in the direction that kind of makes you afraid, that kind of feels uncomfortable, because then after you do it, then that whole stigma behind like the fear and the worry and all the things that you're running through your head that might not actually happen, that'll all just disappear, because you're like, oh, the world didn't fall apart and people didn't say any mean things. And I didn't sound like a bumbling fool or whatever. And just do it anyways. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Take the messy action, schedule out your week, actually look at your week and see where you have gaps if you're a busy person, and fill them where you can to be productive. And I love you guys, and I will see you next week.